Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and this is the place you want to come to when we talk about science fiction tabletop role playing experiences. And we're doing a uh, part of our season doing a deep dive into the high concepts of various television and movies, especially television, many of which most of you are maybe too young to have seen or maybe not have seen at all. But guess what? That's actually the best. That's the best material we can pull from for your tabletop role playing experiences because no one has seen it, so no one knows the plots to these things. So today we're going to talk about The Pretender, a television series, and kind of take a deep dive into the concepts in it and use that for our world building. So let's get into our television show for today that we're going to take apart and kind of dismantle, make fun of a little bit, and also use for our current mind fuel. So The Pretender is a series that follows Jarod, a young man who is a quote unquote pretender, a genius imposter able to quickly master the complex skill sets necessary to impersonate a member of any profession. Now, the television show aired from 1996 to 2000, and there were actually two additional mini television movies. Now, this was long before streaming and maybe even before video on demand, but this was absolutely in the heyday of like Blockbuster and things of that nature. I actually have Pretender, or most of the series, I think 4 seasons on, or maybe 5 seasons on DVD. I love the show so much. But yeah, there were two movies. Now, Pretender, and we're going to talk about this for the rest of the week. Pretender wasn't the only show that delved into, dare I say, special snowflake regions. So what I mean by this is that there were many television shows from like the mid 90s into the mid 2000s. And yeah, Drew says, like I mentioned, I had watched a handful of episodes, but it seemed interesting. And it was for me. I got pulled into it, dropped the show, and my my current wife and my ex-wife, we always had like we had our individual television shows and movies we liked, but we always tried to pick something that we liked together. And sometimes I would like watch a couple of episodes and go, I think she would like this, and she would do the same thing, and then we would just come together and have dinner or whatever, and talk about the show. It was our own specific water cooler, and this was one of those shows that I said, oh, we got to watch this. 24 was one of those shows at the time as well that happened with my current wife. But anyway, there was a period of time where we had these, what I want to call special snowflake shows. And this isn't a bad thing. This premise of the special snowflake show was very cheap to make. You could gather together a number of very beautiful people, especially from the States and from Canada, and on a low budget in some, dare I say, repeatable locations, because a lot of these locations were used over and over again in television shows. You have one or more individuals that are far more special than everyone else in society. And then a premise is built around those individuals as they show off their skills or traits. Now, sometimes there's literally just one alien, one mutant, one psychic, one person, given cybernetics. I mean, there's too many shows to mention. We could go down a rabbit hole of like the $6 Million Man, or Starman, or Automan, or Manimal, or we're going to talk about the Phoenix was another show, and so on and so forth. Kyle XY, so on and so forth. The other slight divergent off of that, which Pretender embraced, was, oh, we have ourselves one special snowflake, But lo and behold, there's a wider world of these other special snowflakes. And much like the televised version of Highlander, every episode usually involved one or more other special individuals, and then navigating the world around them, and as our mundanes, our normies, surround our pretender or special character. Now, pretender itself, there was a high concept was that there are individuals in the world who are social geniuses. In other words, there are people who have an advanced, dare I say, psychic ability to embrace and learn any skill necessary to perform a function and navigate social parameters in a way of being able to say and look the part to blend into society. They are the ultimate spy, they're the ultimate learning masters, and every episode seemed to surround the fact that our main character, the pretender, was pretending to be some other kind of profession. And the cool part about this, of course, was television tend to be very procedural, and procedural shows to this day still dominate the public airwaves. Police, rescue, medical, law, a show that gives us rules for procedures, and then how do our main characters, navigate using those procedures and kind of buck the system or rein rebels back into the system and kind of go back and forth and such. We see this, for example, police procedurals. Criminal commits a crime. We have to investigate the crime. We want to put the criminal away. What are the rules to allow us to put the criminal away? Do we break the rules to enact justice, or do we corral ourselves out of breaking the rules and use the rules despite the fact it's a limitation? And how do we work around a limitation to actually punish the criminal within the rule system? Today, a lot of times those procedurals, especially police procedurals, are called like propaganda. But I think that's a little bit ridiculous. It's just about portraying those procedures. And this show was no doubt similar to it. So what we do have is our character, our pretender, inserting himself into the lives of other people. And our pretender character is hyper empathic. And there are some creepy elements to it. Let's be honest. If you've ever watched the show, our main character, to his credit, our what is the actor's name? Created by Stephen Long and Craig W. Van Sickle, Jarod, Michael T. Weiss. To Michael T. Weiss's acting, I have to give him credit because there are times where he kind of is a little creepy in terms of watching people and their behaviors and following them. As a matter of fact, very early in the season, he ends up like creeping on some kids. And mind you, there's nothing untowards about it. He's trying to, there are children that are stressed and he's following them and wants to solve the issues. And our pretender character has this ultimate caretaker draw that he can't just leave a thing alone. He's got to help innocent people along the way while he hides in society. And an evil corporation or black ops kind of thing that takes children and manipulates them as pretenders to brainwash them to be used as this black market, black ops corporate thing. He of course escapes, and so feels a lot of empathy towards young people and those kind of people, innocent people that can't speak for themselves. And so yeah, there are a few episodes where he's like trying to befriend children and pulling them aside and speaking to them, without their parents and loved ones nearby. And it's like, ugh. But the actor does pull it off because he's got a bit of an innocence unto himself. And our main character isn't innocent because he never had a childhood. So eating ice cream and watching movies and playing with pets and things like that are very new to him, despite the fact that he's a complete genius. Basically, watching something done once, he learns it. Reading books, he can just speed read through books and things of that nature. And so using this for tabletop role-playing games, because this is the high concept, we have too many role-playing games that we can pull from where our players become the special characters in a world of a lot of mundanes. And more so with modern game, meaning like modern uh, games that have cars and guns is what I mean. Not modern as in our actual date, but modern gaming like that has firearms and computers and things of that nature. A lot of those role-playing games understand that being special and being mundane, it's a thin line that, these characters can be shot and killed and die in explosions and such. So they're not superhuman, but uh, given slight modifications, whether they have psychic abilities or they are geniuses or they are expert marksmen and things of that nature, really puts them above and beyond the regular mundanes around them, and then it allows them to really shine. And so this kind of concept really lets player characters feel like badasses, right? Like if they have, even if it's only one of these things where maybe it's very, very low level superhero games where they have literally one superpower. I'm looking at you, television show heroes. Or they have, like I said, a single psychic power, or they have an aptitude that goes well above and beyond what's normal, like learning a skill or performing a skill or something. There's too many shows coming to mind. Heroes is one of them. There was a show called Alphas, which was another one. Too many. But the great thing about these television shows was they used very low budgets, and it felt very human. And of course, they gathered together a lot of very beautiful people uh, in a weird way that maybe, yeah, daylight saving. Oh, that's not what I did. It's what happens. Yeah. Hey, Sam Bragat. Yeah, there's for those who are across the pond from here in the States, yes, we have engaged in our particular daylight saving. I'm not sure when every state here is different based on your time zone, and I forgot to announce that. But anyway, it's just a thing we deal with. Although I think there's a huge draw for most of us that communicate across time zones. It's like, get rid of it. We don't need daylight saving anymore. But then there's also the people who like, please don't move my cheese. That they don't want it changed because they like it where it is, instead of doing something that's maybe, I don't know, better, whatever. But for our high concept, so let's come up with let's come up with as many story ideas for our tabletop role-playing experience. So one of them is the gathering of characters, either as a unified unit or unified because of circumstance. So one great storytelling element to ensure that all players are on the same page is a unifying theme or unifying circumstance. And what I mean by this is, too many times in our early tabletop role-playing experience, we've had a thing where we buy a book. What's a book I have in front of me? Morkboard. Morkboard. Anyway, we have a game and we say, oh, we're so excited. Everyone make a character. And we don't put any guardrails up. And then everyone shows up at the table and there's no relationship with anyone at all. And now the players fold their arms and wait for the game master to figure out how to combine everyone together into one story. And that can be kind of not only taxing, but boring as well. Like, the character that's always like, I'm Mystery McNasty, and I sit in the corner, and I don't want to be associated with anyone. And you're just rolling your eyes like, really? You're at the table with 4 other people. Make a reason why you want to be interested, right? Yeah, Drew says, I have to endure 2 more weeks. Then Germany also changes the clocks. Yep. And Korai says, comically, I'm visiting abroad, and because of the time zone I'm in, I'm watching this at noon now. Oh, well, thank you very much for being here. I'm not sure if you've ever caught any of these shows. But thank you very much for being here. I appreciate your presence as well. Thank you. So, um, one is unified theme, and a unified theme is, hey everyone, make characters, but and you come up with a guardrail. You are all members of, and then you fill in a blank. You are all gathered together because of one unified theme, whether it is you all belong to a government organization that to stop great evils. You are all um, escapees from, like the show The Pretender. You're escapees from a government program that harnessed you as children to make you into the pretenders that you are, but now you have all escaped and gathered together for protection or something. The unified theme is a great way to get the story started, especially in media res, right into action. You're all running from the silent black helicopters and black ops team. You're all um you're all, I don't know, you can combine all this thing together. You're all special investigators stopping crime or ghost or, I don't know, rogue robots and AIs or something like that. Karai says, I've caught you once before and I really loved your level up A5E stuff. Thank you for those, by the way. Oh, well, thank you. They still, my level up advanced 5th edition videos are constantly getting tagged, dinged from people looking for, they love and are comfortable with 5th edition rules, but don't want to give any money to Wizards of the Coast. And so there is Level Up A5E, or sometimes just referred to as A5E, Advanced 5th Edition. There's also Tales of the Valiant, and what's the other one? The new MCDM RPG as well, and so many others. And so yeah, it's gotten a number of hits and things of that nature. Technically, if we want to be really technical, 5th edition doesn't belong to Wizards of the Coast any longer. It's in the public domain now. It is under Creative Commons, so it doesn't belong to them. Now there is Dungeons and Dragons, which currently are using the same rules, but the two now are separate. So yeah, so if you enjoy the game and you love your D20 fantasy, go check out. Matter of fact, if you really want to see the rules for free, and A5E is in Creative Commons now, or at least parts of it, you can find the licensing for it. But actually, you could check it out at going to a5e.tools and use the digital tools as well. Karai says, Shinobi says, I think it's because you're one of the few ones out there that have such in-depth stuff about Level Up A5E. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there. Thank you very much, but I'm actually the only one that actually bothered to do it. And also, full disclosure, I was one of like 30 people that was contracted to work on the game in the first place. So I'm a little biased because I had a part in it, and I also like exploration, which is why the book Trials and Treasures, that's a writing credit for myself for Level Up A5E. And for those who don't know, Level Up A5E was produced by N-World, which has been around for, I don't know, 30 years maybe, as a resource for blog, article resource, and gives out the Ennies for each year for the best role-playing games. They don't give them out. They put out, people can vote on their best games and best art and best supplements and things like that. And they host the Ennies. But yeah, exactly. So a unified theme runs throughout The Pretender and other television shows of its nature. The special people who are hunted, used, abused, and harnessed for whatever ill-gotten gains our big bad evil guy has intended. And of course, our main characters fight against that. And many times they're actually surrounded by a lot of normies who fall into their gravity in terms of the storytelling. Maybe there's a victim that doesn't know about the hidden world beneath what's happening with the pretenders and others. Now we're really focusing on science modernism and science fiction, but this happens in fantasy as well. Like maybe there's werewolves or vampires or magicians in the background, and the same goes for that where you have your normies that are like, what? There's really magic and warlocks out there. I'm going to join in the fight, and they help out our main characters. Another unifying theme is circumstance. So a bus load of travelers is exposed to a weird alien radiation. A gathering of individuals is part of a gang or something. Like maybe all the characters don't have personalities that align with each other. I remember there was a show called, I think it was simply called The Lottery. No, because The Lottery is a short story about about tradition and murder. But anyway, Windfall. It was called Windfall. But anyway, there were neighbors that all had different personalities and different age ranges that would get together, put money and they literally put cash into a glass jar, and they would buy lottery tickets. And the show starts out, I think it was only one season, maybe two, where the all the neighbors won the lottery, and then hilarity ensues as people get divorced. They try to steal the money, and they spend the money in strange ways, and someone gets sick and needs to spend the money to help themselves recover, and blah blah blah, and a lot of stories. And sometimes situation is a great thing that draws people in, especially things that are traumatic and devastating, usually like an aftermath of some sort. A building collapse, a bus accident, a radiation leak, alien abductions. Everyone is detained by some kind of corporation or evil government or criminal organization. They're all detained, and they all have to work together to escape their confines or their situation, and they bond together. Despite big differences, they always come together because of their unified situation. And this is a great way. I think this is the other method. If you have players that have very different personalities and play types, but you do want to get them together and make sure they operate as a unit, at least most of the time, having a unified situation is actually much better. Very common unified situations that we see in storytelling are two characters who just happen to be related, and they are devoted to each other. Usually one is on the side of law and order, the other one on the side of criminality and chaos, but they love each other and they protect each other. And sometimes the law enforcer will look the other way to help their sibling, and then the criminal sibling gives information back to the law enforcing one. Is back and forth. We see that plenty of times. Another one that hits a little bit closer to home is the one sibling gets straight A's and is very successful in their career, and the other one is living on the streets and maybe has some kind of addiction. You fill in the blank of whatever addiction you're thinking of at the moment: gambling, drugs, sex addiction, a spendthrift, a rolling stone, a nomadic type of character. And then the other character is a homebody, very regimented, usually displayed in kind of their clothing and their personality and such. And it's the odd coupling, right? The clean one versus the dirty one. And of course, hilarity ensues when they get together. And so that is another unifying thing that we can pick from Pretender. Another one that seems to have been embraced back in the 90s when Vampire the Masquerade came out. And this also is quite a bit into the superheroism of role-playing games. Yeah. Oh, Drew says the new partner in cop shows is also a classic of how people who are very different but have to work together. Absolutely, Drew. Absolutely. The newbie that comes in, and often this is actually actors, real life actors use this to fuel their trope. So when we have our police procedural shows and we have the new rookie cop that comes in, many times they're inserting a new actor into other actors that have already created their own gel, their own feel of how they act. And when the new actor comes in, they feel like the outsider. And so it lends fuel to the behaviors of we don't like that person because they're an outsider, even though they don't even know each other. And of course, our new partner, our new cop, has a jaded history. Maybe they're a rebel. Maybe they got kicked out of their old department and they transferred, or they have a mysterious a story element where they want to enact revenge, or they're motivated to commit to this path of investigation because of a dark past. And so whether they are embraced by our new group, whether the new person is embraced by our stable group depends on how long they last, and we learn about their background and things. And so, yeah, that is very much a trope, but it fits into role playing, right? The player characters are well gelled together, and you get a new player, or you have a veteran player, but they're making up a new character. This is a good way to, I don't like their personality. They're new to the group. I miss Joe, who died last season, or something like that, right? And so Drew does make a point. Yeah. And so the another element that we can pull from, and going back to my analogy with Vampire the Masquerade and the White Wolf games, is that clearly in this world, our players, using Vampire as an example, are badasses against the normies, right? And there's a good reason for players to want to feel like badasses. We are already mundane. I've got too many limitations in my life as it is. I'm short. I'm losing a little weight, but I'm still a little. I got like my little man pudge around the middle. I'm bad of seeing. I don't know a lot of things. I don't consider myself to be very well educated, and I'm always learning new things. And there's all kinds of limitations. We all wish we were richer and more beautiful and things of that nature. And so our player characters, we get to play characters that are bigger, better, bolder, faster, stronger, beautiful, say the right things, and that feels good to us. It allows us. It's wish fulfillment, and we get to do that. But clearly, by making the characters in these worlds, we are at the bottom of the totem pole of the larger aspect of whatever is in the world. So, example, in Vampire the Masquerade, you play a brand new vampire, new meaning like no older than say 50 to 100 years old. But there's ancient vampires that are out there that are far more powerful than you, and the same goes for the Pretender in terms of using it for our fuel. Hey, characters, you guys are badasses against the normies in this world. If you're on the run from the authorities, right? And against the Samber says, against the normies, a new take on a classic Gygaxian adventure. Yay! We're going to punch the normies in the throat, right? But listen, in fantasy, come on, goblins and orcs, they're the normies, right? Like every player character by design should be able to throat punch a bunch of like goblinoids and get away with it. It's kind of designed to be that way. In the beginning, it's a little tougher, but in general, even a beginning player type of character, unless you're playing OSR, you should be able to beat ass on a bunch of normies. But using the Pretender, your characters are already escapees from an organization that is already harnessing, against the jobbers, exactly, right? But I'm going to get to what your comment here is, Drew. Yeah, against the jobbers. And sometimes, listen, I know as game masters, sometimes we fold our arms and pout and go like, our player characters are like trashing our big bad evil guy. I get it. But there's a reason why the numbers always fall in favor of the players. And it's wish fulfillment. It's, you know what, I want to play somebody that's not me. I want to play the character that is bold and fun and fearless and stronger and more beautiful than me and more skilled and such. And that's why we use these games, to escape and to put ourselves in other people's shoes. And one of the things is being able to do that while simultaneously understanding, because of the world concept, that our let's say it's the evil corporation our characters have escaped from, that there are bigger and badder people out there who are completely brainwashed, who believe in the evil that is going out there, who think that we should be stopped and go out there and are trying to defeat you, and understand that maybe your player character's experiences and empathy while helping you survive is the thing that's holding you back from the greater evils that are out there, who don't have the empathy, who are apathetic, who are sociopaths and psychopaths that are out to get the characters and take them down. Now, Drew says, "Speak only for myself." Okay, I'm I am awesome in real life too. Probably the reason why I want more tragic tales in the hobby. Well, there is that. There's some few out there who live such amazing lives. They're like, I want to play a role playing game where all the things have come against me because I am so lucky in life. Which honestly, I'm very lucky in life. So yeah. Yeah, shitlord says, yeah, until the jobbers capture the party and sell you into slavery. Which is, and then wash, rinse, repeat, right there, shitlords. Yep, same thing. So, one aspect of another thing we can pull from Pretender that I think sometimes, and we're going to talk about this with other shows that do a similar thing, like Quantum Leap is a good one, television show that does this, and that is not every episode, but because there was a through line, but in many of these episodes of television, the television shows are written so that more often than not, a casual viewer can get the entire concept of the show in one sitting, 1 hour of the viewing. Actually, it's like 42 minutes or something. Anyway, but minus commercials. So, as at least as it was aired here in the States. Yeah, that's nice for you, Drew. I am annoying as fucking real life and probably an undiagnosed aspie. Well, that's very well. First of all, that's very shall I say, self-aware of you there, Samber. So yeah, yeah, very self-aware. I accidentally clicked the thing, but anyway, one of the concepts that's very funny, hilarious. So another thing we can steal is that because our pretenders or our main character, the pretender Jarod, shows up in different professions, they get to um, portray a different type aspect of their character for a different thing. Oh, let me diverge away from this. Let's get a little metagamey here. Some of us know players who, despite their best effort, are constantly, much like we like to world build, there's some players who are constantly building new characters. They are, there is no concept that's good enough because the next concept is always better. And the Pretender embraces the idea that one episode our character is a brain surgeon, another time they are a race car driver, another time they are a black ops soldier, another time they are an award-winning chef at a restaurant. Now, the show doesn't really explain how Jarod is able to become a renowned heart surgeon or because he's a pretender. First you scratch your head like, okay, I get the fact that he's got these skills, but how does he own a detective agency from one episode and then is like a paratrooper in the second, and then he's like a school teacher in the third episode, and then like somebody somewhere along the way, you're going, the amount of time it would take for him to develop a reputation as a thing doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't matter. He's a pretender. He automatically has an apartment and fake credentials and all these kind of stuff, and he's supposed to be a genius. So yeah. And thank you. He says, Karai says, I'm looking forward to your Quantum Leap episode. Yeah, we're going to talk about the original Quantum Leap and the reboot Quantum Leap. Didn't watch it. Sorry, I didn't watch it, and it's already canceled. But Again, we're not here to talk about the quality of our high concepts. We're talking about, or not the quality, not the execution. We are here to talk about the high concept. So yeah, Drew says, oh, well, that's very personal there, Drew. I have ADHD and chronic depression, but I choose not to let that pull me down. And you know, the thing is, half the battle is knowing who we are and what we're about, and understand that all of you are better than you think you are, no matter at what point you are in your life. So there's always space for that. Yeah, shit. Lord says the original was kind of too. It was right. I mean, because the whole point was the concept. It wasn't really about the execution. It was a little bit of like it was funny. It was pretty ridiculous. There were some episodes. Now the Pretender, unlike Quantum Leap, where technically our main character changed identity, gender, age by slipping into individuals and solving their life problems. Um, Pretender was the same person each time. So if we wanted to have like, hey, make a 30 to 70% player character, but every time we come to the table, you have 30, you have a percentage of your character you can just erase and write new things in. That I think would be kind of cool. Mind you, you don't need a specific role-playing game for this. You could literally play this with nearly any role-playing game and just go, hey guys, the skills for your character, you can erase them and just write in new skills as long as you use like 12 points that we always use for the game. Just write in new skills because we're going to do a piracy game this time, or we're going to do a murder mystery for this other game, and then we're going to do a heist for our third game, and for our fourth game, it's going to be straight up war. We're just going to like it's going to be all battlefield. So, and then you could just kind of, I mean, GURPS, any type of game that allows you to build skills and pick and choose the kind of skills and feats or special abilities or special traits or drawbacks and limitations and advantages and things, um, I think would really work well, especially if they do like a point buy system or a pick and choose system. Oh, Samber, I'm too afraid to get diagnosed. You know what? Um, I understand that, but most medicine is detective work anyway. It's not really about solving the thing. Most medicine is about finding out what the thing is first. The solves are usually either very simple or um, uh, placating the symptoms, or not knowing how to solve it at all and just knowing how to deal with the symptoms. So I would suggest to you that, or any of us, to be honest with us ourselves, not you, but us as people, is to, if there's something wrong with us, let's find out what's wrong with us. So at least we have a handle on it. Because once you name a thing, I believe the thing becomes smaller. You know, it doesn't change what it is, but I think conceptually in our heads, uh, are we afraid of the dark? Yes. Uh, if we know the thing in the dark is a snake or a wolf or a storm or a fire or something like that in the dark, then we can kind of go, okay, I know what the danger is, and the danger could still hurt me. But a wolf isn't fire, and a fire isn't an earthquake, and an earthquake isn't a disease, right? Even though all those things hidden in the dark are all scary to face. So they might give you legal speed. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, it's legal, but yeah, uppers, downers, over medication. That's true too. Being over medicated for mental issues. Um, Although I think a lot of times, this is just my personal opinion. Sometimes there's medication not for you, but for the rest of society, because we don't know how to deal with you, and you as meaning the royal us, and the you meaning me, a little too often. Okay, now some other concepts we can steal from Pretender are the idea that our bad guys because our bad guys may be just, or most likely are just as skilled as we are, that you may very well know who's committing the evil acts, but cannot act against them because of the too often there will be repercussions from the normal people in the world. So, for example, our main characters may find out that there is a political individual who is another pretender, one of these geniuses that is a sociopath that is out there committing all kinds of crimes. And yes, our main characters could very much easily go up to them and throat punch them and walk away. But because of the way the world is set up, if they do that, they're going to receive the harm from every other agency around them. That was one of the in-world narratives that kept player characters in Vampire the Masquerade under control. They're badass vampires, and yes, they can murder kill a bunch of regular people and other vampires and such. But if they did so, especially whether they went hunting to drink blood in other territories, because many cities were divided up by territories, or they went after certain vampires because of they looked at them the wrong way, they would receive within the world, they would receive both punishment from the higher level vampires that would gather all the other vampire clans to put you down, or or the normies would come after you for committing crimes out in the public and such. So player characters had to very much navigate the world, and I'm using vampires as an example, navigate the world of the mysticism and normal people simultaneously while still trying to survive enemies behind them and go after adversaries ahead of them. Same thing for Pretender. Yes, our main character, Jarod, had a whole bunch of badass skills, but he was mainly a MacGyver type character, which is another special snowflake show. MacGyver, who the literally MacGyvering is now a an adjective to describe someone who is able to solve a situation with like needle and thread and some chewing gum and pocket lint and things like that. Many times in the television show MacGyver, our main character was so brilliant that there's even websites dedicated to MacGyver. MacGyver. Um, There it is, MacGyver television series. Yeah, our television show 1985. It was that old, and there's a modern a retelling of it. But MacGyver was absolutely very much similar to it, to the point where people were analyzing every episode of MacGyver to find out if the things MacGyver used to solve a situation actually worked. And there's whole website analysis connected to it. Mm-mm-mm. There it is, MacGyver and MacGyverism. MacGyver employs his resourcefulness and his science, technology, and outdoorsmanship technology and sportsmanship to resolve what are often life or death crises. He creates inventions from simple items to solve these problems, relying on only a Swiss Army knife and duct tape instead of high-tech weapons and equipment like secret agent show characters. These inventions become synonymous with the character and were called MacGyverisms by fans. The writers of the show based the inventions on ideas from scientific advisors, real events, items found on location, and ideas submitted by fans in a contest with prize money. I didn't realize that. MacGyverism was first said on the show by the character Joanne Remings in Twice Stung, season 2, episode 3. MacGyverism led to the verb MacGyver. In 1989, Richard Dean Anderson discussed this term on the Arsenio Hall show. Hall had heard it used to mean to do the impossible and suggested it belonged in a dictionary. MacGyver entered the Oxford Dictionary's website in 2015 as a verb meaning make or repair an object in an improvised or inventive way, making use of whatever items are at hand. That's funny. That's really funny. I did not know that. But yes, MacGyver is and Pretender are very similar in the sense of our character has these advanced skills no one else has to solve a situation. And many times, of course, the subplot of the show was the fact that our main character, Jarod, the pretender, is solving social situations. Characters are maybe down on their luck. There's someone that has been kidnapped. There's someone trying to reunite with a lost long loved one. There's someone who is suffering from some kind of depression and wants to in their own wants to self-delete, and he's there to try to prevent such a thing. Many things. This character is very empathic, and so has a very strong empathy streak for helping people out. And often, while our character can very much easily run away, hide as someone else, and disappear, and often does so at the end of the show with very minimal type of makeup or something like that, Jarod then runs back again and helps solve a situation and pull people out. And of course, he's very mysterious. And many times people uncover, like, you're not really a brain surgeon, are you? And it's like, he's sitting there in the recovery room with them like, no, I'm really not. But, the memory that you lost after your accident was very important. And we needed to find this out, or whatever, or someone caused the accident that gave you your brain injury in the first place. And I'm here to stop that person and figure out why they tried to kill you. And oh, by the way, here's some new medication that's going to help you survive. And then doctors are like, where did this come from? How did you know this would work? And of course, Jared's badge and doctor's coat is left there as he disappears with a black turtleneck and a black long coat and disappears into the crowd or something like that. And then, of course, we get into our next episode where he's a 4x4 race car driver or something, mudding in a big giant arena or whatever with kids yelling, yelling in the background. And they're like, man, glad you showed up there, buddy. Whatever. So it gives ourselves an opportunity to have a lot of fun with our player characters and to tell different stories, especially if you're a group that's made up of basically mostly game masters. Pretenderism is a great way to share different stories, so everyone gets to play a character and gets to play a different character. Maybe one week everyone's like, you know what, let's just do, we just feel like just doing battle. Let's just have a big old fight and come up with a reason to have one. And then maybe the next week someone says, I'd like something a little more introspective. Let's all play people going to like a fantasy island type thing and we're solving everyone else's problems. Or maybe there's a murder mystery and someone dies and we're trying to figure out who did it. Or we're committing a heist and we need to break in and find the nuclear launch codes or something before the enemy gets them or whatever. Those kind of stories can be very easily told with using the Pretender as a background. And like I said, it's not just Pretender that was this kind of show. There were many shows, some of them, the beautiful people from Canada with the low budget shows, there were plenty of these television shows. And whether the show was called Prey or Kyle XY or John Doe or Blind Spot or whatever the case might be, there was always some special character or characters related to a larger plot that was a mystery box they were able to pull the thread on and use that as a tool if the show got a second, third, or fourth season, and use that for our tabletop experiments. Something else I think some of these television shows teach us about. Somehow I think it would not work if one plays a person of color. Yeah. Hey, listen, amongst my friends, we've often, and mind you, amongst my friends, we all 80 to 90% of the time, we always play people of color because most of my friends were, not all of them, but we were very much like we were leftover groups of geeks. So we were black, white, Far East. We were just a hodgepodge of people, but 50% of us were probably black, and then the rest were just a hodgepodge of everybody else. And we often played our role-playing games with some issues. Like, for example, when we would play Call of Cthulhu, and this is like the 1920s, we always played people that were minorities. Jewish, women, people of color, where we were like Indian, as opposed to Native American, which we would do, black, things like that. And listen, here in the States in the 1920s, you didn't really want to be a minority of any particular type, of almost all types, right? Depending on what backwater place you went to. And we always investigated stuff in backwater places with different types of horror. And of course, come to find out that the eldritch horrors, the Lovecraftian eldritch horrors, were about on par with the horrors of real world and stuff. So yeah, foul people, foul language and stuff. But that was with our own group, and we had a lot of fun with that. We definitely not the kind of thing you would be able to put online, but rest assured, we used to do that a lot. And yes, what is it? Not just people of color, but even like religions and religion, gender, hell, just the way someone dresses sometimes, people are identified as belonging to like one group or another, whether you like it or not. And there's a lot of, depending on like, it would be pretty funny, although a little dark, if this show Pretender delved into things like that. Like, listen, the show was a procedural unto itself and never really delved into that kind of thing. But they never really told you like what kinds of pretenders were there from other different types of cultures from around the world. It didn't delve into that at all. But it would be pretty interesting to find that out. Like, hey, you're a friggin' genius, and now you're pretending to be someone from a different culture or something. Like, how does that work? That never really happened that way, but it would be pretty funny uh for our pretty Caucasian character Jarod to be like, no, I'm an indigenous person. And they're just like, dude, you have all the language and behaviors and stuff, but you're not one of us. And he's like, no, but I'm pretending. And everyone's looking at him like shaking their head like, no, you're not. He's like, but I was able to hide everywhere else. Yeah, not everywhere. That would be ridiculous and pretty funny. Although they never really did have anyone that was from a different cultural background that was also a pretender. Not that I remember. But that wasn't the point of the show, right? There are, although I will admit, like, excuse me, there are also the idea of pretender could be taken to another science fiction extreme, meaning like anything like an invasion of the body snatchers type of thing. As a matter of fact, one of the individuals, Vince Shine, that has been on the show plenty of times, has a role-playing game called, I'm going to miss it, The Infested. Anyway, you play a character that is something that infects or infests or is a parasite to other people. And then the character could always change, but the player doesn't. Meaning, like, if you're just an alien bug that sneaks into people's brains and controls them, or you're a virus, or you're a chemical, or you're a nanotech that goes into other people, and then you pilot other people temporarily, like Quantum Leap, because I was going to bring this up in Quantum Leap. And every time you come to the gaming table, you pick a different age and gender and skill set, and you can manipulate the numbers. I still think that's possible to do that. Drew says, I imagine the pretender like in Tropical Thunder playing a dude who's playing a dude. Yeah, Tropic Thunder, yeah. Oh, Robert Downey Jr. And Robert Downey Jr. didn't get canceled for it because it was actually far too hilarious than a little bit, right? But playing blackface, yeah, that people got canceled for doing those kind of things. And nuance and context sometimes doesn't come into whether people should be canceled for a thing, which is stupid, because all of us could probably be canceled for the things we've done and said in our lives. It's just it's stone throwing, whatever. Crazy. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for letting me delve a little bit into the Pretender. I remember a line from the Pretender where one of the evil pretenders were out there kidnapping people and murdering people or something, And of course, this other pretender was a genius and skilled out the wazoo. All the pretenders that were in the show, of course, were absolute experts in everything, which storytelling wise allowed them to explain situations that normally should not happen. So a character jumps into an 18-wheeler and starts driving it. Well, the fact that they could drive it is because they're a pretender. And then all of a sudden they're flying a fighter jet. Why? Because they're a pretender. They're performing brain surgery. Why? Because they're a pretender. They are computer hacking. Why? Because they're a pretender. So it lent itself to putting characters, our main character and our NPCs and our bad guys, into situations where you didn't have to explain it in the show so much that, mind you, you had to like go, that doesn't make sense, because they would also have bank accounts, credentials, labs, tools. They would actually have the accoutrement that allowed them to do some of these things. And you're like, wait a minute. I get that you're like a badass Black Ops guy, but the fact that you're in a military base with actual leadership over other soldiers, like, how did that happen? You can't just slip in under the radar. Like, people know people know faces, right? You can't just show up one day and go, I'm a rear admiral or something, and everyone goes, of course you are. You're like, no, they're going to check your background, and people are going to remember who you are, and they're going to talk about you and go, I never met Jarod before, which is funny because many times Jarod will use his real name, which is funny. He's, oh, I'm Jarod, Dr. So-and-so, brain surgeon. And everyone's like, oh, I heard of you. How? But it was very fun. And so part of our gaming experience could be, in media res. Oh, hey guys, all of you are working on the railroad, and the rail line is almost a mile long of cars, and on one of these cars is a unmarked car that is hiding government nuclear fissible waste that's going to be stolen by someone that wants to make a nuclear dirty bomb or something, and you have to find out who they are and protect it or something. And then you're just like, why are they hired to be on this train and know about this? It doesn't matter. It's just because they are, right? So you can wipe over a lot of things. Also, you can very hand wave a lot of these things. Also in Pretender, because our bad guy was able to do lots of things. I remember one bad guy, one of their kidnap victims was screaming at them and like, you're a psychopath. And the bad guy goes, well, technically I'm a sociopath. He's like, see, a psychopath is so ridiculous because he stops in the middle of committing a crime and explains to this woman, listen, a psychopath doesn't really know the difference between right and wrong. I know the difference between right and wrong. I just don't care. I was just like, oh, that's so bad. But it was very funny because it was like one of those like record scratch things, like, because the music was playing and stuff, and like, you're a psychopath. And he's like, no, technically I'm a sociopath. Yeah. Drew says, so I put down Pretender on my Obsidian Star character sheet, and then I can use it for everything. Uh-oh. Yeah, rules like games, BS detectors. I see you, Drew. I see you. What am I? I'm a pretender. Although, listen, you know what? You make a point. I kind of like that. I kind of like it. I think it would be pretty fun. You know what? I'm going to put something like a pretender in it. Yeah. I know you're hitting me below the belt, but that's all right. Ball strikes are okay when there's no rules involved. So yeah. Yeah, why not? Why now, mind you, that sounds like that's one of those rules light things where you all, because let's be honest, rules light games are good BS detectors. So when somebody is talking a bunch of bullshit and that player is very annoying, you can really find out what kind of person they are in a rules light game, because they're going to try to break a rule and bend it. Drew points out that an Obsidian Star uses natural language for your skills and abilities, and you could write down a natural language thing for your character sheet. When I say natural language, there's no rules. If you write down mountain climber or scuba diver or award-winning chef or sniper, whatever you write down, you have that skill in that thing. And Drew is basically saying, yeah, oh, they're so funny. And And the thing is that if you write down pretender, basically you have a skill in everything in just one little slot on your character sheet. And I think that's ridiculous. I love it. Yeah, those words are almost always used incorrectly every time they appear. Pretender? Rules like detected my autism. You're so wrong there, Samber. Which words are almost always used incorrectly every time they appear? Which one is that? Um, so the last thing about the television show Pretender, and it were many seasons. As a matter of fact, I believe it was, is it 4 seasons? 4 seasons and 2 television movies to bring it back a little bit. Yeah, 96, 97, 98, 99, and then the television films were in January 2001 and December 2001. Appeared on NBC here in the States, and then TNT, to bring it back and tie up some loose ends. There were one of the great things about Pretender was that it involved a lot of NPCs, and if you're somebody in your group, you are, don't take this the wrong way, you're drama queens, meaning like your group loves to do the talky talk. You love the narrative aspects of role-playing game. You love getting like kooky NPCs and doing voices, or interacting with NPCs and getting, and you're very willing to get attachment to NPCs. Pretender brought back a lot of NPCs that were in the show that came back over and over again, in terms of like the lives he affected, especially when the show does a lot of flashbacks. And so if you steal this from Flades in the Dark, you can use a lot of flashback scenes, especially for like training regiments. Many times that every episode dealt with some kind of psychological issue that Pretender was working through, and so would flash back to him as a child under training, flash forward back in the present day, him dealing with the situation, and the flashbacks, of course, would align with each other, just like the television show Highlander. Highlander, the Immortal, flashback to the 1700s or 200 BC or whatever it was, flashback, and then come into present day, and then would have a clash with an NPC or enemy, adversary, something like that. And so there are a lot of NPCs to use in this show. When he's a brain surgeon, there's other doctors that believe him or don't like him. There are patients that trust him or don't trust them. There are he's got to deal with medications and dealing just all ambulance drivers and all the kind of stuff. You could fill out the world. So every time Jarod would show up somewhere, fighter pilot, brain surgeon, outdoorsman, hunter, award-winning chef, he was surrounded by a cast of NPCs. So if you're someone who likes to have that, or your players do like to have that, like, oh, talking about psychopath and sociopath often, sorry, why, how the hell did I, thank you very much, mistaking one for the other, even frequently misapplied than capitalism and socialism. Yes. Yes. Sambergot. Yes, Sandberg says even more frequently misapplied than capitalism and socialism. Yep. That's the tisms talking. Yeah. We talked about, we've talked about the isms on this show many times. Saber says you didn't use them incorrectly, but everybody does. Yeah. Yes. Which funny thing is, when I saw the show, mind you, this is in 96, 97, right? So I was born in 70, so I was like, what? 20 something or whatever. That's when I was like, oh, I now know the difference between the two. And it was funny that the show actually pointed out the difference between the two. So yes. And on this channel, we've talked about isms, especially when it comes to like politics, how we apply isms, but the actual isms don't actually apply the way we think they do, because they really aren't that way. Like capitalism and socialism, and isn't, it's not really capitalism and socialism, even though we say it is. It actually is more like oligarchism and meritocracies and kleptocracies and things like that, so yeah. Yep. We talk about all that kind of stuff here too. So yeah. And by the way, and I don't please explain this to me, guys, for those who these terms I'm going to interpret apply to. Is there something about me that I'm doing or saying or appearing that seems to draw people here that are neurodivergent? Because I must be, there must be something I'm doing that's doing that, and I appreciate that that's a thing, but I like to know what it is that I'm doing. I don't know. It it just seems to be very common, and at least on this channel, and I'm happy about that, but I don't know why. And listen, I understand you guys only have so many characters to type, so yeah. Drew says I delve at the the moment in a few isms too, mostly modernism, postmodernism, especially meta modernism. And yeah, Will Samber says yes because you run an RPG channel. So I guess that that's true. That strange that we love a social game for those of us that have always been awkward in our social expressions. I find it very funny. I think it's amazing too, which is why I love role playing games. I guess. Karai says, "Yeah." Shinobi says, "I think we get the vibe that you're one of us." Yes, I've never been diagnosed, but I think I am. And also, dare I say, most people that were neurodivergent were always my best friends because I could talk to them without the pretense of social mannerisms that you have to have, and it didn't. And neurodivergent behaviors never bother me. So, the expectations of having to navigate through you have to socially do certain things. That doesn't bother me at all. One of my coworkers is like that. Like he doesn't say like hello or goodbye or good. Like he doesn't do all the social niceties. He just starts a conversation and stops a conversation in midstream to me. And I'm just like, oh, whatever. Drew says, I guess the nerdy interest, especially if you have a narrow focus, in your case, the exploration, might let people think that. That's true too. Like the narrow focusing of a thing. Because to be honest, this channel isn't very big, but I have been pretty focused on a specific thing for a long time. So, yeah. Yeah, shit lords. Yeah, transhumanist human rules light hard sci-fi will spur you out with the swiftness. Yeah, that's true too. Oh yeah, this is like, wait a minute, that's like the niche of a niche of a niche. It's an enigma wrapped in a mystery, trapped in a maze of a confusion, I guess. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. I did post up the 5 let's see. I did post up the 5 other episodes, or actually the 4 other this week. And let's see. Let's go to events. What other events do we have now? We've got 4400 coming up. What's tomorrow? 4400 or the 4400. We have a the Phoenix television show, which nobody here watched. It was back in the 80s, like 81, 82, I believe. We have Dark Matter coming up, and we're going to end on Friday with Quantum Leap. So, yeah, just look on the channel. You'll see them. I posted them all up like 5:30 this morning, and at least 5:30 this morning my time. So you will see them there. Yeah, I think I'll restream events. Let's share this out. Excuse me. Yeah, you'll see these. Excuse me. Wow. Yeah, well, Pretender's going live right now, but we have the 4400 tomorrow. About 4400 individuals that were snatched up by aliens and deposited into Seattle on one day, even though they were all kidnapped over dozens of years. And then the Phoenix, a person awakened from an old sarcophagus in an ancient Incan tomb or something like that, to bring about life and love and solve crime or something like that. Another special Snowflake show. We have Dark Matter, a sci-fi show of people who awaken from stasis pods only to discover they have no memory of who they are, and begin the series as each one of them has woken up to take on the, also forgetting their names, taking on the name of 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., based on when they woke up, and discovering why they have no memory, where they are, and being influenced by, slowly being influenced by the memories of their past and influencing the future. And then, of course, lastly, on Friday, we were going to do Quantum Leap, a show that's been rebooted, where our individual is held in some kind of weird quantum stasis that happens to intrude on the lives of innocent people, and unable to return to his normal life with the help of his holographic womanizing friend, to solve the dilemmas in the lives of normal people, to then quantum leap yet again back into different individuals' bodies. Samber says, what about Doctor Who? Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, what about, and that's, yeah, Shitlords answers the exact question. Like, what about Doctor Who? And the problem is, yeah, what Shitlord says, not spurgy enough. Too many people watched it. We're listen, some of the things I'm bringing up, nobody watched, and you don't really need to watch them. But the idea is taking them and then taking the high concepts from them, and we're not worried about the execution, even though some of the execution, I mean, listen, four seasons means the execution was pretty good for some people. Yeah. Drew says Doctor Who would probably fill a whole week. Not only that, but you also get the flame wars where people were just like, that person's not my Doctor Who. I can't believe that. What's the other stuff? I can't believe they made a Doctor of Woman and all that bullshit. And it's just like, really? Like, how? I don't understand how people can have science fiction is always about speculation. So science fiction is about speculating what if this thing was this way, what if this thing was that way. And it is also designed so that it doesn't have to intrude on our current day, but still parallels our current day. So when I see people bring their own hate and politics into science fiction, it makes me laugh, because the point of the science fiction is to show a mirror on the things that put you in the box, the brain cell that you're trapped in. And I find it kind of funny, because it actually is a reflection of the fact of the reason why you're arguing it in the first place. So if you're someone who's like, who feels very deeply about gender politics in terms of people need to know their place, and you have that issue with science fiction, then you don't know what science fiction is about. You really don't, because the whole point of it is turning the mirror on yourself and going, yeah, I think the thing you're upset about isn't as important as you think it is. So guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it, for being here. We're going to delve into some of these other television shows and kind of go, oh, I didn't think that show was about this thing, or hey, that show nobody else watched, maybe I can use that for my own game, or something like that. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. We're going to take you out on Obsidian Star. I might talk less about Obsidian Star. Dead Man has put a number of, if Dead Man is here or not, put a number of comments in the comments section so that I can modify the document as it's growing. And I have read them. I'm writing my notes. I'm going to respond to them pretty soon, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, when I get my day off. So guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. We will be live 6 a.m. ish Eastern Standard Time here tomorrow, and each day, Monday through Friday. So thank you very much. And one last thing. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. It really helps defeat the algo monsters out there, and spread the word on the show. Matter of fact, if you've got some enemies and you think, or some people who can't sleep, and you think they might benefit from the show as well, this 5 out of 4 doctors has say that this show really helps people. It helps their sleep patterns or their creativity. So please do that. And guys, just let me bring back an old one. Let's be creative. not be destructive. Being destructive expresses our animal side, our childish side. But let's be creative and find the good things we can find in some of our media and our creative endeavors and things like that. If there's something you don't like, don't go out there flame warring. Why don't you just create something better or find the good thing in within the threads of the terrible thing that maybe is terrible about the media that you're embracing. And lastly, don't make that your identity as well. You are all better than you think you are, and you are much more than the media that you embrace in your whatever geekdom that you are part of. So, guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility.